Hey everybody, Brett Tadlock here, TN Artist. You may remember about 2 or 3 months ago I did a full workshop on how to paint this scene right here. I'll put a link to it so that way if you didn't get a chance to watch it you can go back from beginning to end on how I painted this. But I thought I was going to do another painting, so I pulled up this canvas and had forgotten that I had saved this painting, a version of it, on this canvas that I worked on because I keep templates so I can work on them. So I had this one here, and I wanted to start a new painting, so I figured I might just have a little bit of fun with it and kind of just keep this and turn it into my underpainting. So I am going to go to Edit, Resize, and you'll see this is at 200. That's usually where I have it at when I'm doing these videos. So let's actually just switch this real quick. So this will be 3200. And 4000. And remember to turn off the preserve original aspect. Tell it. So that should give us 16 by 20 portrait size. Ta-da! And it stretched everything, as you can see, because we changed the image size. Alright, so I've got my palette knife, just blend colors, and what I'm going to do now is I am just going to quickly go over this. Going to bring up the loading. I'm going to go with a green, maybe kind of a bluish green, and dull it out just slightly to there. So now it will add that green to it. A weird spot right there. I don't know why that's not blending out. Alright, so we have some of that. I'm going to switch to Harsh Chaos. Control Shift to go straight down. Give it a second to run. There we go. That's kind of a nice abstract kind of look to it. Alright, so the next thing I want to do is we're going to add a layer over top of this. And so let's make a new layer. And we're going to keep green, but I'm going to go to a little bit deeper green. Fill bucket, fill. And now I want to change the blend mode on this layer. And let's look at multiply. It's not too bad. Let's check a few others real quick, like maybe soft light. Darken, no, don't like that one. Alright, we'll stick with multiply. I'm also going to bring up my reference panel. I'm going to create a new one here and move this to my other screen. so I can double check my colors on there as well, because sometimes on this monitor it's not as saturated as it looks on other stuff. So this gives me a good idea of what things look like. Okay, so I've got this layer and I've got the layer below it, so I'm going to make another layer. I'm going to go to my ink pen, and right now we're on smooth transparent ink. So if I use my right bracket to bring that up a little bit, and then I'm going to go to pretty much a black. How does that look? Not too bad. Let's go a little bit darker. Yeah, so let's make some lines. Let's bring up the opacity. So I'm just changing the pressure that I'm putting on here, like so. We're just making some loose lines. These are going to become trees. In the background. And remember, as they get closer to the bottom, they should get wider. And you can go over these as many times as you want to add as much or as little as you want. Like so. Okay, so then we get, as many as you want in there. I might put just a few more. And maybe a few more limbs. Here and there. Okay, like so. Now I want to kind of push these back, so I'm going to change the opacity slightly. I'm going to Control-Alt down arrow to put them on that green layer. Okay. Now that will probably kill your multiply that you had there, so you'll need to go back and put it back on there. But what I want to do now is I want to go to a little bit kind of a bluish. We're going to glaze this over top on a new layer, fill that layer, change that layer to overlay, or soft light. Decreasing the layer with the green and the trees. I'm lowering that opacity just slightly. I want these to kind of push back. Okay. And I'm going to Control-Alt down arrow. There we go. To merge it down, make a new layer, go back to my ink pen, go back to a darker color, and kind of repeat the process. But I'm going to go ahead and make this almost completely black. Like so. Okay. Alright. Now then, we can do just like this. And what I want to see about doing is probably bring in some of our stencils. So I have my stencils over here on the other layer. I have these landscape stencils, the Gumroad stencils, and so forth. You can get all these in my landscape pack. We're going to use some of these. And some of this. I'm just going to grab a bunch of these stencils and bring them over. Move that out of the way. Now then, let me just kind of set these aside for a second. See about where I want these. Control grows it, Shift Control stretches it. So we're going to stretch these just a little bit. Go back to my, actually I'll grab my roller brush. Brush some of that in. Like so. Invert. Invert. I'm going to hit the edge of this one just slightly. Expand this one and increase its size. I'll line it up with that one behind it. Just kind of fill it in. And then invert it. Take this one. Let's move it around. Maybe really bring it forward. Like so. And invert. And space, drag this one over. Fill it in as well. Okay. Now go to Tools, Stencil Options. Remove all stencils. Alright, so that gives us some nice variation in the look and in the feel. So we can do that. Let's take this one. Or actually, let me show you something else on my custom brushes, the landscape ones. I have made some tree brushes right here. See? So those are in my new pack. I managed to grab that right at the spot where it's I dropped it right where it won't move. Alright, hang on a second. Okay, there we go. I got that fixed. So, now one thing with these brushes is that these only go up to a max size of 500% from what they originally were, which means that that's about as big as they're going to get for this. So these work really great for distance brushes, for filling in texture and that kind of stuff. So like if I wanted to put some brushes, some trees and stuff, excuse me, in the background, I could do that and just kind of add them in here and there like so. Okay. So I'll probably come back to those, but I just wanted to show you those real quick because those work great for that kind of stuff. Alright, so we've got these here. I'm going to lower the opacity just a little bit. Alright, now I'm going to come back to here and just make some more trees. Like so. Let's see if it kind of blends in, so it doesn't really matter. It's just a happy little accident. Now if you bring this brush way down in size, you just start to really put in and I find sometimes it works better to go from the top down to it than from the bottom up to it. But it's just your preference, and it really just kind of depends on the brush too, because some of these brushes are a little bit more sensitive. The pressure. Like so. Okay. There we go. That gives a bit more of a feel. I'm going to hit my off my loading, my brush down size, kind of soften this bottom a little bit. I can even go to a different one, like the heavy blurred frosting, just really kind of soften this into the ground so that the trunk disappears into it. I can go to this next layer down and do the same, just going over it really softly. Like so. Merge this layer down, Control-Alt, down arrow. Over here to here. We could even see what it looks like to change the blend mode, like so. Gives us a little bit more of a spooky look. Opacity down just about 91%, 90-91%, something like that. Another layer for this one. This pine brush, this pine tree, for the size, so it's shift and drag to the right. Drop off the canvas. Go back to our roller. Like so. Remove I think I'd like to even grab, I've got these trees here, these birch. See what that looks like. I went a little outside of my stencil there, so just E for erase. Got the kneaded eraser, which is fine. Now this one I'm going to right click, I'm going to invert, paying attention to where these are. So I've got this greenish color here. I'm going to go over here to this reddish color. Go opposite. Grab just a touch of that. Go back to my roller brush by hitting R. Smear this in here. Like so. I'm just trying to follow a little bit of the others. Yep, that's going to be overbearing for what I'm looking to do. But I wanted to see what it looked like before I started spending all my time on it. So just Control Z. And remove. Alright, select that green again. But that's how you tell if you like something or not. Just experiment with it. And one of the great things about using something like ArtRage is that we have the capability to do that. And see if we like it or not. Now I'm looking at my other stencils to see if there's maybe one that strikes my fancy for the look and feel that I want. And I think one of them that does is going to be these dead trees here, which again, Shift Control, stretch. I think this fellow right here, we're going to bring it up a little bit, like so. Back to the, make sure we got the roller. Across there. Grab a little bit of this blue up here by clicking Alt and selecting it. Go a little bit slower on this part. And kind of stay within the lines. Right click, remove stencil. Scary. There we go. Over ink because the ink is a little transparent. Like so. And let's maybe do, I'll do one more, but I want to do something else first. I want to go to my custom brushes. I'm going to go to the leaves brush that I made. I'm going to come between these two layers. And I'm going to put in some leaves. Duplicate that layer. I'm going to set it to multiply, like so, and really bring that forward. And then I'm going to paint some other leaves down here onto a little bit softer, too soft. On this layer, does that look? Well, looks decent. Just going to sprinkle some of this here and there, and I'm just clicking my mouse. You can probably hear it. So by playing around with where these are sitting on these layers, it kind of gives me different textures and colors real quick. Alright, so I'm going to hide this layer. I'm going to visible layers. Bring that layer back and zoom in. Now I want to go back to my palette knife. I want to smudge some of these overlapping limbs. Here and there. Like so. Oops. Kind of clip that one at the top there. There we go. And that kind of helps seat this in front of those others. Alright. Now then, I also have in my custom brush here, I have a bark brush, which put a new layer here. I'll show you what it does. So it makes this little pattern like this. Oh, we're going to bring that way down. And we're going to go slightly. I am blending the color right now is what I'm doing. So I'm trying to find the color that I want. There it is. And then just undo all of those. Just put some of this on the edges here. This is a vertical facing brush, so it does this fairly quickly and easily. So if I want to add textures to some of these, I can kind of push them around in the landscape a little bit. Get kind of an idea of how I want them to look. Then I can go back to my kneaded eraser and kind of soften some of it. So it just kind of helps add that little extra something here and there. Okay. So now we've got that. Kind of spooky looking. Oops. Sorry about knocked over my coffee there. Alright, so that gives us that one and that one. We've got our bark layer here. I'm going to go to my chalk brush. Zoom in a little bit. I want just a bit of this green here. Hit this tree here and there. Soften it back so that it gives just the indication that that light is really kind of hitting some of this rather brightly. And I can blend the chalk on the tree as I'm doing it, so when you see me put down one color and then another right next to it and then kind of rub over it real quick, that's just me blending. Like so. Now I want to go back to my custom brush. Go back to my brushes and leaves. Grab a little bit greener. Add some leaves up through here. I think that'll just give us a little bit of interest. Because I almost want this to be kind of an ethereal, is it nighttime, is it daytime? There we go. Now we can, something like this dead tree stencil. Alt to turn it. We just kind of grab the roller brush, throw in some misshapen twigs and stuff here and there. Like so. Put this on another layer because it's blending with the one below it too much. I can grab something like my oil brush. Just throw in some twigs here and there. Like so. Just like that. Then I think I would like to add, I made this deer stencil for one of my other paintings, so I'd like to add a little bit more interest. So I'm going to put this on a separate layer because I may end up moving these guys, so I want to be able to see them a little bit. We'll stick with the oil brush, just kind of give them a quick fill in, like so. And I'm looking at my little thing on the other monitor, my little reference panel, and I kind of like where this is at, so I'm just going to grab a little bit of some of this green and maybe the roller, and I'm just really going to kind of smear this around. I don't want to spend any time on making these guys have a lot of detail. Alright, so let's do this real quick. Let's go to this layer. I'm going to lock transparency. Grab the airbrush. Cross. So this is going to hint at detail without there actually being really any detail. So that's kind of interesting looking. Alright, so let's do this. Let's merge all layers. Create one more. I want to add just a bit of something here that I think will be neat. But I'm doing another layer in case I am wrong. Grab this yellow, go to this almost white, and I am just clicking with the oil brush. And I'm just using my mouse button so I get a dot basically every time I click. Alright, so I've got that there. Let's go to layer effects. Let's go to glow. Activate the effect. Increase that. That gives us a bit of a glow there. Let's turn on this one. Go to white. Okay. That softened it too much. Okay, so here's why I'm doing this. So now see, I can look at these. I don't like how that looks. So I can do this, Control A, delete. But now I still have that same layer effect there. Okay, so I can switch to something else. Like, say, for example, this pen. It gives me a better look for what I'm kind of wanting. So I'm going to change the size. Actually, I'm going to look at the airbrush. Okay, that was kind of interesting. There we go. Kind of like that more. So what I'm doing here is I'll bring this down to say maybe 10% and just click several times. I can bring it up. Click again. Go to so I'm getting a bit of that effect from the layer setting automatically. I can just keep playing around with these little will-o-wisps by just decreasing and increasing my bracket size, clicking several times. That gives it really kind of an ethereal look. Now then, I want to try something else. So let's go to the pencil. If I come around this guy, let's see, don't like it like that, but maybe with the marker. No. But again, you know, it's the whole thing of trying and playing around. So let's zoom out. Alright, so I kind of like that. I'm going to go one more layer underneath these two. I'm going to set the blend mode to overlay. I'm going to go to this greenish color. Come up here. A for the airbrush, big and subtle. Increase the size, Control. Figuring my light source is somewhere out here. Drag off a few. Like so. Control B for blur. Looks B. I'm going to do it again. The opacity slightly. Shift Control Alt T. Move that. I'm also going to go to the transform here. That. Alright, so I'm going to do one more thing here real quick. I am going to grab the Custom brush. Cloud smoky. Put a little bit of this in here. Then I'm going to go to my heavy blurred frosting. Just kind of soften this out. Like so. Control Alt Shift T. It just slightly. And soften it again. Get just a bit more organic. The opacity. Like so, and that just kind of helps seat stuff in there. All layers. So there we go, kind of a Halloween foresty kind of look. Something different, something a little bit of fun. But just playing around with stencils. So the main thing with it is just, you know, build up your layers in your atmospheric perspective by just layering one on top of the other, on top of the other. And you could spend more time on this and really move stuff around if you wanted to. You could come in with your oil brush, for example, and maybe add just a few birds here and there, like so. You could even put them down here, like that. You could add more twigs and grass, because you know me, I always like to put a little bit more darker grass here because it makes, to me, it makes it feel like you're part of the picture. Maybe you're the reason why that one is looking up, like so. And so you can really kind of play around with it and make it more yours. You can add more limbs. If you don't like it, just Control Z. So you have a lot of different things you can do with it to play around with it. But that's just hopefully gives you some ideas of some things you can try and some different ways to use some of the different levels and layers. Okay? So just a quick lesson, just a quick walkthrough. Hope you enjoyed it.